Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Begum with you on this Monday, April the 6th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, China's estimated well over 800 million trips during the Qingming Festival holiday, with the country's roads being especially busy. The U.S. president has set a Tuesday deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face more attacks on civilian targets. And Hungary says someone tried to sabotage a vital gas pipeline from Russia. In business, China's encouraging more AI to boost the e-commerce sector. In sports, China's Zhao Xintong joins the snooker elite with his latest victory. In culture and entertainment, China's Qingming Festival box office helps the country to keep its place as the #1 global market for movies. Now the day's top stories. China's transport authorities have estimated more than 840 million passenger trips during the three-day Qingming Festival holiday, up 6%. Railway trips have increased by 8.2%, while road trips are up 5.8%. This year's Qingming Festival coincided with spring break, boosting family trips. More than 62 million cars hit the road on the first day of the holiday on Saturday. New energy vehicles accounted for more than 22%. The Qingming Festival, or literally the Festival of Pure Brightness, is a time to honor ancestors with trips to memorial sites. Flower viewing is another popular activity during the Qingming season. Visitor numbers and revenue remain heavily concentrated in the short peak bloom period. He Jingyi visits Yuyuan Park in Beijing to see how it is extending the blooming season to unlock value year-round.
Cherry blossoms, messengers of spring. Crimson blossoms bursting across the branches draw crowds rushing to embrace the colors of spring. It is also fueling a spring consumption boom. But cherry blossoms bloom for barely a week. With such a fleeting make-or-break bloom window, how can the blossom viewing economy extend its vitality? Extending the blooming period is just the starting point. The real shift lies in moving beyond the traditional park plus flower viewing model and building a full scenario consumption ecosystem, one that invites visitors to slow down and stay longer. To turn a one-season surge into year-round business, the key is to transform a single season of blossoms into a lasting IP. Ooh, Xiaoyin, the famous star of Yuyuan Park. The park has made use of her image to create a series of attractive merchandise. With 5 categories and 45 cultural and creative products on offer, it's almost impossible to walk away empty-handed. As the cherry blossoms draw the crowds, nearby malls are quick to capture the spillover. Every weekend, 14 free shuttle buses run back and forth between the park and Capital Mall Crystal, seamlessly linking a day in the park with dining and retail and turning foot traffic into a continuous flow of consumption.
Yuyuan Park is a popular destination for cherry blossom viewing, attracting huge numbers of visitors. After enjoying the blossoms, people often look for places to eat or shop, and we want to make that as convenient as possible. In practice, this shuttle service has delivered a very high conversion rate, with the 99% of passengers going on to spend at the mall.
The partnership is set to go deeper. The mall plans to team up with the park to launch cherry blossom-themed IP meet and greet events, study tours, and more immersive experiences. The goal is to extend the value chain of the blossom economy beyond the peak season, so that a fleeting moment of bloom can generate value all year round.
That was He Jingyi reporting on the blossom economy in China. Many Taiwan compatriots have returned to the Chinese mainland during Qingming Festival to honor the ancestors. Some also spent the day paying respect to Matsu, the goddess of the sea. Gua Tianqi spoke with some of them on Meizhou Island in Fujian province to explore the shared ancestral beliefs and traditions across the Taiwan Strait.
Treating the deceased as if they were still alive is a cherished Chinese tradition. During Qingming Festival, offerings of tea and fruits, burning incense, upholding family glory and ancestral precepts are shared customs that bridge the Chinese mainland and Taiwan. The Lin clan is a prominent major clan in both Fujian and Taiwan.
Nearly 80% of people in our village share the Lin surname. We are all descendants of Mazu. It's a great honor to join the ancestor worship and tree planting activities. I hope clan members from both sides of the strait can interact more frequently.
I said to our ancestors, "Your descendants have come to see you. I'm home." My family's roots began in Fujian, and our ancestors migrated to Taiwan during the Qing dynasty. This ancestral shrine enshrines the founding ancestor of our clan.
The two sides of the strait share not only kinship but also faith. At just 14 square kilometers, Major Island is known as the Mecca of the East.
1,000 years ago, a distinguished woman called Lin Mo or Mazu was born on Major Island, and she's honored as the goddess of the sea by more than 300 million devotees across the globe, and also the great aunt of the Lin family.
In 987 AD, the world's first Mazu temple was built on this island. Historical records show Mazu sacrificed her life at the age of 28.
It's believed that she saved a lot of people's lives when their ship goes down.
This Mazu stone statue is made of 365 granite blocks, symbolizing blessings for every day in a year. At Beigang Chaotian Temple in Taiwan stands an identical statue carved from the same rock. The two sister statues face each other across the water.
2/3 of Taiwan's population believe in Mazu, making Major Island their spiritual hometown.
This is our handmade peace amulet, placed in a small blessed pouch. We hope to share blessings with everyone here and back home.
Mazu is like a family member, protecting us at home and accompanying me for over 50 years. This is my first visit to the Mazu Ancestral Temple on the Chinese mainland. I pray for safety and good health for my whole family.
Shared family values and the common wish for peace bring people across the strait together during this ancestral remembrance season, praying for calm seas and a prosperous, peaceful nation.
That was Guo Tianqi reporting on people from both sides of the Taiwan Strait marking the same tradition. In another move that'll boost cross-strait ties, Chinese Kuomintang Party leader Cheng Li-wen will visit the mainland starting Tuesday, and it comes at the invitation of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee and General Secretary Xi Jinping. We asked Taiwan-based historian Qi Qiaolin what makes it so significant.
I think within a decade, the world has undergone significant changes with many places embroiled in conflicts and wars. The relationship across the Taiwan Strait is extremely tense. Whether from the east or the west, all the powerful nations are eyeing the situation with great interest. Under such circumstances, Cheng Li-wen's visit, her first visit since becoming the Kuomintang chairperson, holds particularly significant historical importance. She made a speech immediately after receiving the invitation from the mainland, expressing thanks and hope that both parties could find a feasible approach to charting a prosperous future for both sides of the Taiwan Strait. This represents her commitment to the policies of the Chinese Kuomintang Party, a clear and distinct expression of the position of the party and a historical succession. I believe this will give a very significant inspiration to Taiwan society, proving that people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait are one family.
Meantime, Taiwan residents have expressed high hopes for Cheng's trip.
The Kuomintang chairperson will visit the mainland. I think this is of great help to cross-strait ties, and a big help to peace and stability as well. I am very glad to see this happening, since cross-strait ties were strained, tourism was affected, economy and jobs are also affected here. I hope this trip will repair cross-strait ties as soon as possible, so that it can help Taiwan's economy.
I hope cross-strait ties will mend quickly. The KMT chairperson's visit the mainland is very good. It will boost cross-strait tourism and the economy.
Cheng Li-wen will be the first KMT leader to visit the mainland in over a decade. Coming up, the U.S. has given Iran a deadline for reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
10 minutes past the hour. U.S. President Donald Trump has given Iran until Tuesday to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face more attacks on critical infrastructure. The renewed ultimatum comes even as Trump told Israeli media that Washington's engaged in what he calls deep negotiations with Iran to secure a ceasefire. The U.S., Iran, and a group of regional mediators are reportedly discussing terms for a potential 45-day ceasefire that could lead to a permanent end of the war. Walter Morris reports from Washington, D.C.
The updated deadline comes one day after Trump issued a 48-hour ultimatum for Iran to end the conflict. In the social media post filled with profanity, Trump vowed to attack important infrastructure if Tehran refuses to lift the blockade. The Strait of Hormuz has essentially been closed since the U.S. and Israeli strikes began in February, leading to a global energy crisis. About 1/5 of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas go through the important waterway. Now, as the White House looks to resolve the conflict, Trump is once again warning that the U.S. will target vital infrastructure if Iran doesn't comply. For weeks, Trump has said the conflict is almost over, telling Fox News Sunday there's a good chance of a deal with Iran on Monday. And the new demands come after the dramatic rescue of a U.S. airman whose fighter jet crashed over the weekend. Trump is calling it one of the most daring missions in U.S. history. U.S. Special Forces extracted the airman from a mountainous region where he had been taking cover since his F-15 fighter jet went down. As the search unfolded, Iran promised a reward for anyone who located the U.S. service member. In a social media post Sunday, Trump said the weapons officer was wounded but will be just fine. The fighter jet was the first U.S. aircraft to crash in Iran since the strikes began. The pilot was recovered earlier, and there are conflicting reports about the damage. After the rescue, state media released video that appears to show wreckage and debris from several downed aircraft. Iranian officials say they shot down an American transport plane and 2 helicopters that were part of the rescue operation. However, U.S. officials claim the U.S. forces destroyed their own planes because of a technical malfunction. Now, Trump says no U.S. service members were injured in the rescue. A spokesperson for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard called the U.S. operation a complete failure.
The so-called rescue operation of the U.S. Army, which was planned under the guise of an immediate free and escape operation on the pretext of rescuing its downed aircraft pilot at an abandoned airport in southern Isfahan, ended in complete failure with the timely presence of the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
And according to a global monitor, Iran's internet blackout is now the longest of its kind. NetBlocks posting on social media that the countrywide internet shutdown hit a record 37 days Sunday.
That was Walter Morris reporting. Iran has warned that it will retaliate against any attack on its national infrastructure. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Bdei said Iranian forces are ready to target U.S.-linked assets in response to aggression.
Iran's reaction would be one of reciprocating any such attack. Our armed forces have made it clear that in case Iran's infrastructure is attacked, we would react in kind. Our armed forces would target any similar infrastructure that is owned or in any way or manner related to the United States or contributes to their act of aggression against Iran.
The spokesperson called U.S. President Donald Trump's threats a criminal mindset, an incitement to war crimes, adding that the conflict is a war of choice by the U.S. administration. He also pointed to protests in American cities as evidence that many U.S. citizens oppose what he called atrocities against civilians. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says the Strait of Hormuz will never return to its former state, especially for the U.S. and Israel. The Guard said its navy is preparing for the new order in the Persian Gulf. Ehsan Kevani has more.
U.S. and Israeli airstrikes continue with their focus on the capital, Tehran, and the central city of Isfahan. The country's energy infrastructure being hit multiple times has really increased the concerns among people inside Iran. What we see in official statements here in Iran shows that Iran has rejected at least one proposal for ceasefire, and it is reluctant to hold negotiations in Islamabad or elsewhere. The IRGC, which seems to be making the key decisions, believes that for any intensification of U.S. and Israeli strikes, there would be an ideal option for Iran, and that is increasing retaliatory attacks on Persian Gulf countries. The IRGC says in response to the attack on the petrochemical complex in Iran, Tehran would not only target oil, gas, and petrochemical facilities in Israel and Arab countries, but it will also expand its targets to the entire critical energy infrastructures in the region that could be electricity or water in Arab countries around the Persian Gulf, which is really worrying.
That was Ahsan Kevani on warnings from Iran if its infrastructure comes under attack. China's expressed readiness to continue working with Russia within the UN Security Council framework to help de-escalate the Middle East tension. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had a phone call with his Russian counterpart and stressed that the fundamental solution to ensuring navigation through the Strait of Hormuz lies in an early ceasefire and an end to the war. He added that as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, China and Russia should adopt an objective and balanced approach and seek broader understanding and support from the international community. Sergei Lavrov said Russia maintains that military operations must be stopped immediately, and efforts should return to the track of political and diplomatic settlement to address the root causes of the conflict. He added that Russia stands ready to maintain close communication and coordination with China to work toward a ceasefire and an end to the war. The Russian foreign minister also spoke with his Iranian counterpart on the phone. The diplomats called for an immediate cessation of strikes on Iranian civilian and energy infrastructure. They warned that attacks on the Bushehr nuclear power plant could lead to a radioactive disaster affecting the broader region. The Russian side expressed hope that efforts to cool tensions will succeed and said the United States should abandon the language of ultimatums and return to negotiations. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, known as OPEC+, have decided to increase oil output by over 200,000 barrels per day in May. The decision follows a virtual meeting attended by 8 member countries. Since the war in Iran, Gulf states have come under severe pressure and sustained attack by missiles and drones. The proposed output increase is facing disruptions under restrictions in the Strait of Hormuz. Natasha Turak examines the hurdles.
OPEC Plus has agreed in principle to theoretically hike output by 206,000 barrels of oil per day. That's according to recent Reuters reports. But the problem with that is that these barrels effectively only exist on paper. And that is because the key producing members of OPEC cannot actually raise their production due to the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. Now, if you look at this vital, of course, Strait of Hormuz, the members of OPEC that were able to most effectively increase their production before the war began, most of their oil reaches the rest of the world via the Strait of Hormuz, which of course is effectively closed. And if you go outside the strait, look at major OPEC plus producers like Russia. Russia is also unable to increase its output due to Western sanctions and attacks on its oil facilities due to the war with Ukraine. So at the moment, we are still looking at extremely tight ability here, almost really effectively an inability to raise output for world markets, even if they make this agreement. These attacks continue in force, with Kuwait bearing the brunt of them. Desalination and power generation facilities sustaining damage from Iranian drone attacks. We've also seen attacks on petrochemical and oil facilities in Bahrain and the UAE. They sustained fires, which authorities said were put out quickly. Saudi Arabia also reported a number of missile intercepts. And here in the UAE, air defenses engaged 9 ballistic missiles, 1 cruise missile, and 50 drones. That is according to the UAE Ministry of Defense.
That was Natasha Turak in Dubai. Brazil's farming belt is feeling the impacts of the Middle East conflict. Diesel prices have jumped by nearly 40%, driving up the cost of transporting grain. And with freight rates surging and some Middle East ports disrupted, Brazil is redirecting some of its grain trade. Lei Xiangping reports.
Rio Grande do Sul is one of Brazil's main grain-producing states. From fertilizer and fuel to shipping and exports, costs are rising and uncertainty is growing. These southern states send products like soybeans, wheat, and oats to markets around the world through its ports. Most of that grain gets there by truck. And that's where one big problem begins: diesel. Brazil imports nearly 30% of the diesel it uses, making local transport highly sensitive to global price shocks. At a petrol station in the city of Carzinho, truck drivers say the latest spike has hit hard.
Diesel prices have gone up by 40%. Before, it was 5.35 and 5.49 reais a liter. Now it's 7.9 or even 8 reais. It is a very big increase. Clearly, this is linked to the war taking place in the Middle East.
This kind of price rise is absurd. Diesel has gone up by 2 reals a liter. Some petrol stations are also limiting each refill to no more than 200 liters.
But for exporters, the bigger headache is no longer on the road, it's at sea. Bernardo works for a local grain export company that ships black beans, sesame, and oats to the Middle East and parts of Asia. He says a road that used to be relatively predictable has suddenly become much more expensive and much less reliable. He points to one shipment of oats to the Jordanian port of Aqaba. A container carrying 25 metric tons used to cost about $2,000 to ship. Now, that same container costs around $5,000 to move, while the oats inside are worth only about $6,000. And compared with that, shipping to Asia now looks far more attractive.
Some ports in the Middle East are charging extra fees because of war risk. That means sea freight now includes an additional charge. So, even for cargo that is already on the way, international freight costs can rise by an extra 100%. And with some ports in the Middle East now closed, many shipments that were originally bound for the region are being redirected to places such as Qingdao in China and Mandrou in India.
Brazil is now in one of its busiest grain export periods of the year, but pressure is building across the supply chain.
The entire grain export chain in Brazil has been affected by the war. If the situation does not improve, market uncertainty will continue. We lack security in shipping, and we cannot be sure we will meet delivery deadlines in our contracts.
And because Brazil is one of the world's biggest grain exporters, what happens here doesn't just affect the local farmers and traders, it could also have wider consequences for food supply chains across the world.
That was Lei Shengping reporting with contributions from Liang Xin. Coming up, Hungary's president says someone tried to sabotage a vital gas pipeline from Russia.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
23 past the hour. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban says explosives found near a gas pipeline in Serbia were an act of sabotage. The pipeline carries Russian gas to Hungary via the Turkish stream route. Orban said that 60% of Hungary's gas comes through that pipeline.
Based on the information available to us, an act of sabotage was planned on the Vojvodina section of the Turkish stream pipeline, which supplies Hungary with natural gas. I consulted with the president of Serbia. No one was injured, and the gas pipeline is operational without disruption. I thanked President Vučić for the work of the Serbian authorities. The Serbs have strengthened security around the gas pipeline. The operation of this pipeline is vital for Hungary.
Serbia informed Budapest on Sunday that 2 backpacks containing explosives and ignition devices were discovered near the Balkan Stream pipeline, close to the Hungarian border. Orban convened the National Security Council following the incident. An investigation is underway. Hamas has rejected the discussion of disarmament before the completion of the first phase of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. A spokesperson for the Al-Qassam brigades accused Israel of obstructing the agreement's humanitarian terms by continuing to target civilians, restricting the entry of aid, and closing the Rafah border crossing. The ceasefire between Hamas and Israel has been in effect since October. The first phase includes an exchange of detainees and hostages, the entry of humanitarian aid, and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from some areas. The United States announced the start of the second phase of the ceasefire plan in January, which includes a full Israeli military withdrawal and the establishment of a transitional governing body. Kuga is in an ancient town in Xinjiang that once stood quiet for years. A restoration project is breathing new life into it now. The old quarters become a vibrant tourist destination, bringing new businesses, jobs, and a new sense of possibility to the community. Zhang Ningning finds out more.
On Raceland Street in Kuga's old town, a blue door swings open each morning to a tea house. The owner sets out cups with the quiet reason of a daily ritual. 3 years ago, this land was nearly empty, walls cracked, footsteps rare. Since the restoration project began in 2023, the neighborhood has come back to life, street by street. Now, the old town is a living canvas. 287 shops, 386 photo spots. Traditional wood carvings and brightly painted doors tell stories that have stood for generations.
I grew up in Kuga. As a child, the old town was so vibrant. But when I returned after college, it had grown quiet and empty. Then, in 2023, the government began a renovation project. And now, during tourist season, visitors from all over the country fill the streets. It's as lively as it was when I was young.
More than 2,000 people now work in the district's tourism industry. Over 20,000 residents share in the benefits. More than 120 newcomers from across China have settled here, opening photography studios, guest houses, and cafes. For them, one visit was enough to call this place home.
So at the beginning, I'm the first one who came here. And then latterly, in 4 years, there are more stores, more restaurants, more coffee shops, more bars.
After a long day of work, Sun Jiaoni tidied up, turned off the lights, and then walked across the courtyard toward home. Decades have rooted her here. She has watched the old town turn, faded to restored, quiet to alive, like a slow pulse returning.
From war alleyways to a thriving cultural destination, Kuga's old town shows what can happen when heritage is preserved not as a relic, but as a living foundation. For the residents and newcomers, that foundation is now building a future, one door, one lane, one courtyard at a time.
That was Zhang Ningning reporting from Xinjiang. NASA's Artemis II astronauts have broken the distance record for humans in space, flying over 5,400 kilometers farther than Apollo 13 did in 1970. On Monday, the crew began a 6-hour flyby of the moon, offering views of the far side never seen before by eye. Pilot Victor Glover reflected on the vast emptiness of the universe and the Earth as a beautiful oasis where humanity exists together.
In all of this emptiness, this is a whole bunch of nothing, this thing we call the universe. You have this oasis, this beautiful place that we get to exist together. I think as we go into Easter Sunday, thinking about, all the cultures all around the world, whether you celebrate it or not, whether you believe in God or not, this is an opportunity for us to remember where we are, who we are, and that we are the same thing and that we got to get through this together.
Mission marks NASA's first return to the moon since Apollo 17 in 1972. The 4 astronauts are using a free return lunar trajectory, the same maneuver Apollo 13 used after its oxygen tank explosion. They will fly as close as 6,400 kilometers to the moon before landing back on Earth, with splashdown scheduled for Friday. The mission sets the stage for future lunar landings, including a planned South Pole touchdown in 2028. We're at 29 past the hour. Beijing's 4 degrees overnight. Tuesday, sunny and 16. Shanghai will be overcast and down to 13, then cloudy skies and 18. Chongqing's getting a light rainfall overnight and through the day tomorrow with a low of 18 and a high of 24. Nanchang will see thunder showers with a low of 18, then overcast and 23. Lhasa will be cloudy tonight and tomorrow, a low of 5 degrees. The high is 12 degrees on Tuesday. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, China's estimated well over 800 million trips during the Qingming Festival holiday, with the country's roads being especially busy. The U.S. president has set a Tuesday deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face more attacks on civilian targets. Hungary says someone tried to sabotage a vital gas pipeline from Russia. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Ever wondered what's actually going on in Africa through the perspective of an African? How are things really going between China and Africa? What's the narrative of this relationship? Well, get a perspective with China-Africa Talk. Hear from African diplomats, entrepreneurs, academics, Chinese natives, and more. Get on our wavelength every week to find out what's real with China-Africa Talk. Find us on your favorite podcast. We'll see you there.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Monday. Still to come. In business, China's encouraging more AI to boost the e-commerce sector. In sports, China's Zhao Xintong joins the snooker elite with his latest victory. In culture and entertainment, China's Qingming Festival box office helps keep the country as the #1 global market for movies. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account @CGTNradio. First, with a check of the day's headlines, though, an Iranian government official says Tehran is studying a new ceasefire proposal from Pakistan. The official said Iran won't reopen the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for a temporary ceasefire and will not accept deadlines. The U.S. president has given Iran until Tuesday to open the vital waterway and threatened more strikes on infrastructure. Iran said it would retaliate. OPEC and its allies, known as OPEC Plus, have agreed to increase oil output by over 200,000 barrels per day in May. The decision followed a virtual meeting attended by countries including Saudi Arabia and Russia. They expressed concern over attacks on energy infrastructure in the Middle East, warning that restoring damaged assets is costly and time-consuming. The group stressed the importance of protecting international maritime routes to ensure energy supplies. The next meeting of the group is scheduled for May 3rd. Libya's oil production has reached the highest level in over a decade, rising to over 1.4 million barrels per day. The National Oil Corporation's chairman said oil sales revenue for February exceeded $2 billion. He also noted that domestic fuel supplies remain stable despite global crises. The country's largest oil field has a capacity of over 300,000 barrels of crude per day. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has expressed regret to North Korea over a recent drone incident. Speaking at a cabinet meeting on Monday, Lee said that although it was not the intention of the South Korean government, in his capacity as president, he expressed his regret for the unnecessary military tension caused by the irresponsible and reckless actions of a few. He ordered immediate measures to prevent a recurrence and offered consolation to border residents. It marked the first time since the drone incident came to light that the South Korean leader expressed expressed regret toward North Korea. Lee stressed that the Constitution strictly bans private provocations against North Korea, adding that peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula are more important than anything else. In January, Pyongyang and said South Korean drones violated its airspace, calling it a serious provocation and claiming to have shot them down. South Korea denied military involvement and launched a probe, which led to the indictment of a man on charges including violating aviation and national security laws. In northwest Pakistan, at least 45 people have died and more than 100 have suffered injuries due to heavy rainfall since March 25th. Authorities in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province reported the collapsing of roofs and walls, causing the casualties, including 23 children. Over 440 houses have been affected, including dozens that were completely destroyed. Authorities urge people to avoid unnecessary travel, especially in tourist areas. They've warned of more rain in the coming days. Qinghai province is becoming a key hub for China's green energy. Talatan Solar Park in the northwestern province spans an area nearly as large as Singapore. It generates vast solar power while transforming the desert into grasslands. Park management official An Fengjun says natural conditions provide unique advantages for developing clean energy in the region.
Qinghai has a great deal of desert area, land resources, and abundant sunshine. This offers unique resources for development of clean energy.
The official also said that the panels trap water, restoring vegetation and reducing sandstorms.
Once the panels were cleaned, it allowed water from precipitation to trickle off, irrigation in the desert. Slowly, the vegetation was restored. The wind decreases cut down on sandstorms, and the vegetation naturally recovered.
To prevent grass fires, sheep now graze among the panels, boosting the local economy. The park integrates solar, wind, and hydropower with energy sent via ultra-high voltage lines to major cities, supporting China's goal of carbon neutrality by 2060. The Screenwriters Union and Hollywood studios have reached a surprise 4-year tentative agreement after roughly 3 weeks of negotiation. The terms are expected to include writers' priorities such as better healthcare plans and more protection against artificial intelligence. The swift closure of the deal came as a stark contrast to the contentious contract negotiations 3 years ago, when Hollywood writers went on an historic strike that partially brought the industry to a standstill. The Writers Guild of America West is facing an ongoing strike by its own staff union. More than 100 people walked off the job over allegations of unfair labor practice. The union's canceled its annual awards ceremony. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China's encouraging more AI to boost the e-commerce sector.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
37 past now. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland and in Hong Kong were closed on Monday for the Qingming Festival holiday. Tokyo stocks close higher, with the Nikkei rising nearly 0.6%. The Chinese Commerce Ministry and 5 other government departments have issued guidelines to promote the high-quality development of e-commerce. These guidelines aim to better serve the real economy. The document encourages e-commerce companies to increase research and development and the application of AI large language models. This will help to improve consumer experience, reduce operating costs, and raise distribution efficiency. The guidelines also call for fair algorithm rules, better legal protections for tech-related intellectual property, and easier proof for rights holders in e-commerce disputes. This initiative is part of efforts to expand the use of digital technologies in the industry. Chinese airlines have raised fuel surcharges on domestic flights due to rising jet fuel costs from the Middle East conflict. The surcharge is 60 yuan for flights under 800 kilometers and 120 yuan for longer ones. Chief economist Zhong Shan at China's Air Transport Research Institute attributes this increase to rising global crude oil prices.
Following our generally accepted practice, fuel costs account for 30 to 40% of the total costs of civil aviation companies. Affected by these rising oil prices, it's an international common practice that airlines adjust fuel surcharges.
Tickets purchased before April the 4th will not incur the new surcharges even if the flight occurs later. More than 1,000 coal mines in China have now implemented intelligent systems supporting over 65% of the country's coal production capacity. The number of autonomous mining trucks in operation has surpassed 4,000, roughly doubling every year. Domestic technological strengths have accelerated the adoption of smart mining. A new underground Internet of Things positioning system in Beijing tracks workers and devices with a deviation of under 20 centimeters. General Manager Wu Fengdong of a Chinese coal company highlighted the system's capabilities.
This underground positioning system we've developed has a positioning deviation of less than 20 centimeters when a person or device is stationary. Even when a person or device is moving at high speeds, the margin of error remains minimal. A single device can cover a radius of 800 meters.
Smart mining investments exceeded 107 billion yuan since 2021, or about 15.6 billion US dollars, accelerating the transition to technology-driven extraction. Slovenian ice cream producers have resumed exports to China after obtaining new permits, aiming to tap into one of the world's fastest-growing consumer markets. The move highlights growing bilateral trade and closer collaboration in supply and technology. Aliosa Milenkovic reports.
On the production lines in Ajdovščina, ice cream is once again being prepared for a long journey east. Slovenian manufacturer Incom Leone is restarting exports to China after receiving new import approvals from Beijing. The company already exports ice cream to 39 countries worldwide, with its brands available across Europe, the United States, and beyond. China is now considered a key growth market. Beyond exports, cooperation with China is expanding in both directions. The company is increasingly sourcing ingredients from Chinese suppliers, while also exporting Chinese-made advanced industrial machinery. Executives say China's growing focus on international standards has made cooperation easier, helping build confidence for long-term partnerships in both supply and technology. The Chinese ambassador to Slovenia recently toured the factory. Besides supporting Slovenian companies to export more to China, she also praised Slovenia's openness to building trade and cultural relations with Beijing.
And we think it is on the right side of the history. And this shows that although this country is not big in size, it has a strategic and a long-term or far eyesight, long-term perspective to see the international situation, which we respect it very much.
As production lines run at full capacity and shipments are prepared, this Slovenian company is betting that its next chapter in China will be smoother and sweeter than the last.
That was Aliosa Milenkovic reporting. China will apply zero tariff treatment to imports from 53 African countries starting from May the 1st. This policy will improve pricing competitiveness, expand market presence, and strengthen brand positioning for wineries like Diemersdal. Company sales manager Steffi Leyer said that South African wine producers expect to benefit from the new policy. South African wines offer advantages in quality, pricing, and established shipping routes. Leyer also emphasized that the policy will deepen trade cooperation between China and South Africa. Egypt has raised electricity prices due to the global energy crisis caused by the Middle East conflict. Commercial electricity prices will increase by an average of around 20%. Residential power use above 2,000 kilowatt hours per month will rise by 16%, while lower tiers remain unchanged. The move follows earlier measures to ease pressure from the energy situation. Egypt has cut fuel use, business hours, and public lighting to save energy. Adel Al-Marouki has more.
The ripples of the global energy prices are hitting Egyptian residents yet again this week. The Egyptian Ministry of Electricity announced an increase on its household and commercial tariffs to cushion the fiscal shock from the ongoing surge in oil and natural gas prices. The latest increase is designed to initially impact those who can afford it, shielding lower power consumption brackets from any price hikes. According to a government statement, this represents 86% of the registered households. Those consuming more than 2,000 kilowatt hours monthly will pay 16% more in May. But the austerity measures announced in late March included activating a work-from-home system, which could see the electricity consumption of many houses rise. These measures are the latest in a series of government austerity measures that include slowing down the implementation of fuel-intensive mega projects, cutting fuel allocations for all government vehicles by 30%, introducing a curfew on most commercial activities and cutting street lights and billboards by a third. Egypt's electricity subsidies were estimated at $10 billion annually before the war on Iran began. With the current oil prices, that figure would double. The government says it has no choice to increase the prices, as 60% of Egypt's consumed petroleum products go to generating electricity.
That was Adel Al-Marouki reporting from Cairo. Once the backbone of Cuba's economy, the sugar industry helped the country become the world's largest sugar exporter in 1989. But production started falling in the 1990s, and now Cuba relies on sugar imports to meet domestic needs. Luis Chirino has more from Havana.
For years, large sugarcane plantations gave Cuba important benefits. Sugar and byproducts like alcohol for rum distilleries and the biotech industries, molasses for animal feed, fibers called bagasse used to make paper and food service packaging. Sugar mills burned bagasse to produce electricity. But in the early 1990s, Cuba's sugar industry went into steep decline.
Este país exportaba más de 6 millones de toneladas de azúcar.
This country used to export over 6 million tons of sugar, but the sugar industry consumes a lot of raw material like steel, fuels, and others, so its production costs are very high. And by the 1990s, sugar prices at the world market began to fall, and the industry became unsustainable by 2002. The decision was to shut down a large number of sugar factories.
The deactivation in 2002 of 71 out of over 150 sugar mills had an economic and also a social impact. Hundreds of workers relocated to other agricultural activities, lots of idle lands and machinery, and the death of an active life in communities around the mills. Cubans consume some 700,000 metric tons of sugar annually, but with the production plunging to less than 200,000 tons in 2025, the country has had to import sugar to meet domestic demand. Cuba now imports sugar from countries such as Brazil, Colombia, Spain, the US, and Chile. Over the past years, the Cuban government has taken steps to revive its national sugar industry, a goal considered viable by experts.
En un país donde hay experiencia laboral.
In a country where you find vast experience in the sugar industry, many mechanical engineers and other professionals in the field, you have what you need to recover this national industry. I would not dare say that sugar production would once again reach historically large outputs, but at least 4 to 5 million tons of sugar a year. There is interest in recovering the industry, but it requires foreign investment.
Cuba's National Innovation Council recently proposed a plan of action to revitalize the country's sugar industry. The initiative aims to increase production of sugar and sugarcane byproducts to generate export revenues and boost the country's struggling economy.
That was Luis Chirino in Cuba. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, China's Zhao Xintong joins the snooker elite with his latest victory.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past now, and turning to sports. We begin with snooker. China's Zhao Xintong stunned world number 1 Judd Trump 10-3 to claim his first tour championship title in Manchester. Leading 5-3 after the first session, Zhao dominated the concluding frames, winning the first 4 to secure a commanding 9-3 lead. His victory made him the first player to win all 3 Players Series events in a single season, following his triumphs at the World Grand Prix and the Player Championship. Zhao's also won all 6 ranking finals he's contested, joining the ranks of Steve Davis, Mark Williams, and Neil Robertson in this elite achievement. At the International Table Tennis Federation World Cup in Macau, China claimed double glory as Wang Chuqin and Sun Yingsha swept the men's and women's singles titles. Sun defeated compatriot Wang Manyu 4-1 to secure her historic third consecutive World Cup title, becoming the first female player to achieve that feat.
I didn't go into this thinking too much about winning 3 titles in a row or making history. I just wanted to take it one match at a time, give it everything I've got, and enjoy every game. Every time Man Yu and I play, we're neck and neck. It's always a battle, intense and exciting. So today, I just let go of the pressure and try to enjoy it.
On the men's side, Wang Chuqin triumphed in a thrilling 7-game final to claim his first men's singles crown.
First of all, I want to thank myself for never giving up. The fans here supported me, and I especially want to thank the Chinese national table tennis team. And to my fans, I'm so happy. I can say this again. I did not let you down this time either.
Wang defeated 18-year-old Japanese player Sora Matsushima to clinch the title. In football, Barcelona took a step closer to the title with a 2-1 win over Atletico Madrid, extending their lead to 7 points after Real Madrid's late loss to Mallorca. Barcelona came from behind, netting 2 second-half goals. The result leaves them 7 points clear of Real Madrid. Elsewhere, Celta Vigo boosted their European qualification hopes with a 3-2 win at Valencia, while Sevilla lost 1-0 to Oviedo, and Osasuna drew 2-2 with Deportivo Alaves. Rayo Vallecano defeated Elche 1-0, sending them back into the relegation zone. In Italy, Inter Milan extended their lead at the top of Serie A to 9 points with a dominant 5-2 victory over Roma. Toro Martinez marked his return from nearly 2 months of injury with a brace, while Marcus Thuram secured his first club goal since early February to help Inter bounce back. In other action, AC Milan faces Napoli on Monday with only a win keeping their title hopes alive. Manchester City assistant manager Pep Linders says captain Bernardo Silva is set to leave the club at the end of the season.
When he's not playing, you will see how he's missed, and that's one game. Imagine a season. But every good story comes to an end, and I hope he enjoys the last months, because only 6 weeks, and has a good farewell, and he deserves all that attention as well.
The 31-year-old Portugal midfielder is out of contract and has given no indication that he'll extend his 9-year stay. A key figure under Pep Guardiola, Silva's won 6 Premier League titles, the UEFA Champions League, 2 FA Cups, 5 League Cups, and the Club World Cup since joining from Monaco in 2017. In the Chinese Super League, Shanghai Shenhua claimed a thrilling 3-2 comeback victory over the Tianjin Jinmen Tigers. Tianjin took the lead in the 42nd minute with a penalty, marking their first goal of the season. Shenhua responded just before halftime with a header to level the score. Tianjin regained the lead early in the second half after a goalkeeper error, but Shenhua equalized in the 81st minute. A stoppage time penalty completed their comeback. In the next round, Shenhua will face rival Shanghai Port, while Beijing Guoan hosts Chengdu Rongcheng. At the men's volleyball Super League Championship, Tianjin staged a 3-1 comeback against Hebei Baoding, securing their first ever league title with a 2-1 series win. Tianjin head coach Liu Hao reflected on their tough journey.
We really overcame ourselves. We did not play well in the last match and have been quite frustrated this past few days with thinking about how to adjust and what kind of mindset to bring into this game. I think everyone did very well.
Tianjin leveled the series with a 25-22 win in the second set and took control in the third, winning 25-21 as Baoding made crucial errors. In the decisive fourth set, Tianjin's Shui Zhihong and Mao Tianyi led the charge. This victory marks Tianjin's historic achievement of winning the league title in their first ever finals appearance. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, China's Qingming Festival box office helps keep the country as the #1 global market for movies.
From north to south, east to west, people in China are chasing their dreams and leaving their mark. Want to know how they beat the odds and made a difference? Footprints brings you the true life stories of their journeys.
53 past the hour. In culture and entertainment, China's box office revenue during the Qingming Festival holiday has surpassed 280 million yuan. That's roughly $40 million as of Monday afternoon. This year's Qingming film season features nearly 20 new releases. That's up from only 11 last year. The strong holiday performance comes as China's total box office revenue for the year it's already exceeded 12 billion yuan, maintaining its position as the world's largest single film market. More international tourists are now exploring China like locals. Guayan embarks on a journey through Yunnan province, joining European tour operators and social media influencers to discover the charming city of Shangri-La.
Have you ever heard of Shangri-La before?
No, in my entire life not.
I do know Shangri-La, but I've never been there.
Said it's like heaven.
So we're now at over 4,500 meters above sea level at the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. The air up here is pretty thin, but the view is spectacular.
I feel like I'm on top of the world, and it's so beautiful.
It's so nice. It's so beautiful. All the mountains, all the snow. Oh, I like it. Really like it.
I think the most important, the most beautiful experience that all should come and visit.
The Tiger Leaping Gorge is one of the deepest canyons in the world. Legend says a tiger once jumped across the river, and it has become one of the most popular trekking routes for hikers from around the world.
It's absolutely spectacular. I've been to China 22 times, and China is always spectacular. I've only been here 3 days, but it's absolutely beautiful.
I feel better is a good word, because I feel like there's still so much more to explore. This place is just a big package of so much history. I have to come back and explore more. And yes, I feel like there were some thoughts that make me understand my soul a little better as well.
It was amazing. It was when we arrived in the city, there's a real relaxed atmosphere. We discovered that it was very magical and overwhelming also. It's really very special to travel to this province. It was really overwhelming to see these monarchs do their meditation and go on the steps. It was really a good thing to do, for ourselves.
So I feel like we just got a little insight in the country and some customs, and of course the food, which is amazing, but still there's a lot to discover. And about myself, I think traveling is so nice because it makes you more open-minded.
After these past few days traveling in Yunnan, we didn't find the perfect paradise, but we found something more meaningful. I think Shangri-La is not just a place on the map. It's a moment when people, culture, and nature live together in harmony.
That was Guayan reporting. The Ningqi Peach Blossom Tourism and Cultural Festival is kicked off in Xizang. Each spring, peach blossoms in Ningqi come into full bloom, transforming the snowy plateau with striking shades of pink and white. This year's festival features more than 20 cultural and tourism activities, including cultural experiences, coffee tasting, and agricultural exhibitions. Drone light show has also highlighted local scenery and cultural motifs, blending technology with nature and tradition. Ningqi in southeast Xizang is known for its mild climate and lush forests. It boasts over 200,000 century-old wild peach trees stretching across valleys beneath snow-capped peaks. Shanghai will host the China Theater Plum Blossom Award Winners Showcase next month. Established in 1983, the Plum Blossom Award is China's top theater honor. Following last year's finals in Shanghai, organizers have launched a biennial showcase of award-winning works. We're at 57 past the hour, checking the forecast before we go for the day. Beijing's 4 degrees overnight. Tuesday will be sunny and 16. Shanghai's overcast and down to 13, followed by cloudy conditions and 18 on Tuesday. Chongqing will see a light rainfall overnight and through tomorrow, a low of 18 and a high of 24. Nanchang will see thunder showers and a low of 18, followed by overcast skies and 23. Last is cloudy overnight and through tomorrow, a low of +5, and the high is 12 degrees Celsius. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, China's estimated well over 800 million trips during the Qingming Festival holiday, with the country's roads being especially busy. And the U.S. president has set a Tuesday deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face more attacks on civilian targets. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the yellow river in his eyes.
The yellow river is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio